What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we'll be chatting with Rylan Stiles from Locked On Thunder as Chet Holmgren and Josh Giddey have been showing out throughout Vegas Summer League and a little bit before that in the Utah Summer League. Just how good has Chet Holmgren looked so far, and who are the other standouts on the OKC Thunder Summer League roster? But first, a quick message from our friends over at BetOnline, because BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your sports betting needs and stats info. Find out the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's Major League Baseball odds, MMA, UFC, boxing, all the fighting odds, golf, you name it, they've got it over at BetOnline. It remains the best spot for all of your sports, scores, podcasts, and news this season. They've got you for live betting, esports, you name it, they've got it over there. Right now, you can take a look at the odds for who the favorites are to win this next year's NBA championship. Right now, the Boston Celtics, the favorites at plus 600. Milwaukee Bucks right behind them at plus 625. The Golden State Warriors only at plus 650 just after winning another title. And then rounding out the top five, you got the Phoenix Suns at plus 650 as well. And then the Los Angeles Clippers, newly acquired John Wall, right, with the Los Angeles Clippers, plus 700. So for all of that and more, be sure to check out BetOnline. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action available to you. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Joining us now is Rylan Stiles from Locked On Thunder. You can follow on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Rylan, Chet Holmgren, who got a bit of a head start in his, I guess, summer league regimen, routine, whatever, going, up to the Utah summer league, getting a leg up on the competition. What is this? Sam Presti's master plan. He's going to get two extra games under Chet Holmgren's belt compared to the other top prospects. No, I kid. Look, Chet has looked incredible so far, and looks every bit the number 2 overall pick. And we were just discussing before we hit the record button, these top 3 prospects, Paolo, Chet, Jabari, all look really impressive in their own rights, respectively. But first impressions on Chet Holmgren, now that you have a decent sample size of games against NBA competition to kind of judge him on.
Yeah, I think that obviously it's summer league, obviously all the qualifiers out the window, but my first takeaway was just a sense of calmingness. Like, there was always this huge polarization regarding the conversation around Chet Holmgren of, like, he has the highest bust potential and he just, might be too small to play in the league physically, just in his weight and everything. Watching him play in these summer league games, we can debate all day long what his ceiling is, but I am very confident that that jump shot is real, that rim protection is real, that he has the tools to be an NBA player. He has the tools to stay in the league and not be one of these guys who play for 2 years and is just one of the best, and biggest busts of all time. So that has been a sense of calming already in the first few games. Now, past that, I really like what we've seen from him already with the Thunder playing through him more than what we saw in college. In college, the spacing is different, and I saw a lot of people taking kind of shots at Mark Few. I don't think that this is a Mark Few issue. It's more so of a college issue of just how the game's played at that level. Plus, he had to play with Drew Timme and play with other bigs at Gonzaga. So you get to see more of him as a playmaker, more of him as kind of in that high post also, and just seeing how Josh Giddey's utilizing him and thinking about how SGA can utilize Chet Holmgren, it just puts you in a really good spot if you're OKC.
Yeah, I mean, he came out of the gate strong in that first game against Utah, against the Utah Jazz themselves. On their, how rude of that, right? On their home turf, their invitational, and you come out and you embarrass them with a 21-point win. But Chet had 23, 7, 4 assists, had a steal, had 6 blocks, shot 7 of 9 from the floor. He looked like Dirk Nowitzki with defense. Like, he, the way that he was pulling up in transition, hitting the threes, it was really a sight to behold. Is there anything so far, though, about his game that you're kind of looking at and maybe doesn't give you pause for concern or any reservations, but something you maybe want to see him improve upon in these remaining summer league games, depending on how many more he actually winds up playing?
Yeah, I think that what people expect to hear from my mouth right now is about the Kenny Lofton game. I actually don't care about that. Like, I don't care that Kenny Lofton just dogged them down low, because I think that the Thunder should welcome that. If you want to lower your shoulder into Chet Holmgren over and over and over again and settle for 2 points every time down the floor, I'm perfectly fine with that, with how the game is played in the modern era of basketball, because you're going to get a lot more tired doing that than Chet Holmgren is, and You've got to guard Chet Holmgren on the other end of the floor. Look at Kenny Lofton in that game. He fouled Chet Holmgren every time on the perimeter whenever they were matched up together. So it goes both ways, but for some reason we don't acknowledge the fact that Chet also has advantages in that matchup as well. So I'm perfectly fine if you just want to dump the ball in and take the ball out of your best player's hands and utilize a guy like Kenny Lofton in an actual NBA game. I'd love to see that happen against OKC. I would welcome it. The thing that has given me question is the mid-range. We saw in night one of Summer League in Salt Lake City, whenever he scored those 23 points on 9 shots, and he had that Dirk Nowitzki fadeaway that everyone just raved about, which was awesome, and the clip and the comparison's awesome. Ever since then, though, a lot of the times in the mid-range, he's tried to get back to that, and that's kind of been denied a bit. I want to see him go deeper into his bag in the mid-range and how he creates shots for himself around the free throw line. That's kind of what I'm looking for in these next few games. But also, to his credit, you've seen some dribble handoff stuff that I think is just spectacular that we didn't see a lot of in college, as I alluded to earlier. So with Chet Holmgren, I want to see his isolation scoring and creating for himself happen more than just that spinning fadeaway.
I know it's impossible to try and figure out what the grandmaster plan is for Sam Presti ever, but it feels interesting. The summer league roster for the Thunder, it feels like they're kind of vacillating through so many of the names that we've become accustomed to seeing play for the actual Thunder during the regular season, right? You had Poku play some games. You've got Josh Giddey playing games, Trey Mann. You've got Ding out there playing games, Jalen Williams. Like, what do you kind of think is the expectation, or what do you have as the expectation, the goal for kind of cycling some of these guys in and out of the summer league roster?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because the original plan, like 2 weeks ago, was that Josh Giddey would only play in the Salt Lake City games, as would Poku. And then all of a sudden, against the Rockets on Saturday, Josh Giddey was still playing. And that kind of goes along with what we saw, the same thing. 2 weeks ago, the whole plan was to accept Lou Dort's team option. Instead, they declined it. So, like, we've been thrown curveballs a few times this offseason. I think that, for one thing, with the Josh Giddey aspect of it, does Josh Giddey need Summer League? No, he could sit out the way that Jalen Green did. He doesn't need it. However, I would say, you look at the team roster and you look at this Summer League roster and you just take away Josh Giddey's name. Look at the Thunder roster, take away his name. Who's going to play make for these young players? Who's going to set them up? Who's going to allow them to get comfortable in an NBA environment, if not Josh Giddey? Not a lot of good passers on this team. Not a lot of good leaders on this team in the sense of ball handling leaders, playmaking leaders. And so the easy buckets you can generate for Jalen Williams and get his confidence up, the easy buckets you can generate for Chet Holmgren and get his confidence up, that all allows you to take Josh Giddey out of that lineup and have them be more comfortable and more confident moving forward in these last few games of Summer League. They're probably going to play without Josh Giddey, but no one's been committal when asked about it. It sounds like Josh Giddey wants to keep playing, and it doesn't sound like the Thunder want him to keep playing, so we'll see who kind of wins that battle moving forward. But I think that the plan was just simply, hey, Josh, please go out there and make life easier on them in this process, so that way we get a sense of what they can actually do. And that's the benefit of having such a young team. You get a head start on training camp and on preseason and seeing how Chet Holmgren and Josh Giddey will fit together. We've seen Chet Holmgren play with every player he's going to play with in the NBA besides SGA, Lou Dort, and Kendrick Williams, and Mike Muscala. Those are the only players we haven't seen him play with yet. So that is a massive head start, and albeit 4 games of film, maybe 5 if we get to see him again tomorrow, still on that low amount of film, that's still more resources that the Thunder have that other teams do not have on their top guys and their top possessions of this draft. So all that being said, I'm not sure if Josh will play another Summer League game this year or ever again, obviously. But that's kind of the thinking behind it. It's not so much that Josh needs to work on things, it's that he can make life so much better for everyone else that you might as well put them in the best spot to succeed.
And to your credit, right? And it makes life easier for other people, but it also kind of gives, that preview for Josh of like where these guys like the basketball, how he can find them, what the chemistry is going to feel like on the floor. Again, it is Summer League. You take it with a grain of salt, but having, this handful of games, at least this becomes that first kind of introduction of what he looks like, or how he can play off of guys like Chet, like the other guys in the lineup, in the roster. But there is one thing about Josh Giddey throughout these Summer League games, though, that I wanted to bring to your attention and just see if it's at least worthy of concern at this point, right? The passing is there, the floor vision, the creation, it's all still there. The shooting, are you at all concerned about that, right? He's got the one game where he went 3 for 11 that's kind of like dragging the averages down a little bit further than they probably would be, but the efficiency doesn't quite look like it's there.
Yeah, and it's going to sound homerish, but I'm not worried about the shooting yet, because if you've watched him play in these games, you can see how much more aggressive he is driving to the rack and how much better he is scoring around the rim. And so with that rim scoring, with that facilitation aspect of it, with better ball handling, his handling looks a lot better than it did a year ago. And with the acknowledgement from Josh Giddey himself, he said at the end of the year and throughout the course of this year, he said back in December, he needed to change his jump shot and work on his jump shot and fix it. You can't do that in 4 months. And so the fact that he's a hard worker, he's acknowledged an issue. Some players never acknowledge that they have an issue and they never work on it. Josh Giddey's working on it, working to change it. And again, you can do it in 4 months. The fact that Josh Giddey to me has to only get to average. If he can be an average shooter with everything he has off of that, with the passing, with the floating ability, his floater that can turn into lob passes to Chet Holmgren, and his spinning drives that we saw in Summer League out of nowhere, and the posterization dunks we saw in Summer League, right? If he can just be average as a shooter, you have to respect him so much in the half court and put so much pressure on him that allows him to kind of combat his lack of explosive burst off the dribble. So like if you're playing tighter on him, it's easier to get by you now since you're playing so tight rather than playing loose. So the fact that all he needs to do to get better is become average and you're not asking him to shoot 40% from three, I think eventually he'll get there. He's just not going to get there in 4 months since April. And so he knows he's going to change his jump shot. He's working with Mike Wilkes of the Thunder to change that jump shot. And you just got to give it time at this point. Now, if we're in year 4 and he still can't shoot and he still can't be efficient, then that's another conversation. But I'm not quite concerned 4 months in, due to those facts I just mentioned of how many pathways there are to success sans the jump shot.
Now, Rylan, we're looking at this Thunder roster. You got some guys coming back who have already had their rookie season, right? Their second stint in Summer League. You got the rookies coming in. Who deserve that we haven't spoken about yet? Do you think you deserve to kind of shine some light on that's impressed you so far in Summer League?
Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara. He's been awesome. The highest pick of the two Jalen Williams for the Thunder. He's been awesome in this Summer League session, both in Salt Lake City and the one game in Vegas so far. The big thing that stands out with his game is his ability to be a play finisher. Like he can score the basketball. He can also score off ball, which is a very key thing whenever you have a ball dominant guy in Shea and Josh Giddey. He can catch and shoot at a high clip as well from beyond the arc, which is great for Shea, who has the highest driving kick rate in the league. Jalen Williams can be a much needed play finisher for the Thunder that they've been searching for a very long time, especially in this new current foundation of players. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Williams becomes a starter sooner than later with this Thunder group, and he's been that good in Summer League so far. So I think that he deserves all the flowers. And I think that if you didn't have Chet Holmgren for whatever the reason right now, he would be getting all of the flowers in the world, especially by Thunder fans.
How much more Chet Holmgren and Josh Giddey will we actually get to see throughout Summer League? How good has Jalen Williams been for this Thunder team? You're going to keep us posted for all of that and more over at Locked on Thunder. Rylan, I appreciate you stopping by Locked on NBA with me.
Thanks for having me.